And now we're going to be talking about basic strings. So before we talked about adding your name into a variable. So let's do that again. Name is Jeff Dean Sanderson. Okay. Something to know, and something that's very important, is how does the computer actually count? Well, if I was going to count this, I would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but that's not how a computer counts. A computer counts like this. When our computer counts Jeff Dean Sanderson, it's going to start with the number 0, and then it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on, until it gets all the way to the end. So the capital J is actually taking up the space 0. Okay? And then right here, the space is taken up by the number 4. So if you are trying to reference any one of these characters, you're going to need to know that the computer counts starting with 0. So let's print out. I'm going to hide this. So this is called a comment. So what that's going to do is the computer's going to ignore this code here because of this comment. So what I'm going to do is let's do print name, and then we can use these square brackets and tell the computer, hey, we want to do something specific. We want to print out from the variable name. We want to print out, let's print out the 5th character. And if I'm right, that's going to print out the capital D. So let's run this. Boom, capital D. Likewise, you could do character, let's do character 4. Character 4 is a space. Now, we saw it print out 5, and it did do the capital D. What's going to happen if I print out 4? Well, you can't really tell, but it did print a space. So something you need to be aware of. If you counted wrong and maybe you were looking for something and you accidentally printed out a space, it might confuse you. So you want to be wary of that. Something pretty cool we can do is, from the last time we were adding strings together, and you can add variables together just in the same way, and this is actually called concatenation. So we could do print name, and then we could do our square brackets here, and then let's do number 0, and let's do 1. And so this is actually going to print J, and then it's a capital J, and then it's going to add together name number 1, and that's going to be a lowercase e. So it's going to print name J and then name E. So let's look at that, J-E. So if you wanted, you could really spell out you could do the whole thing by typing in just numbers individually, if you don't wipe out your parenthesis. So this is going to be J-E-F. Okay, so something else, we can print out, so look at this. Okay, so we can print out another function that we have that we can use is the length variable. So now we have print, and we have the length function. And just like print, length also needs a set of parentheses. So now we're telling it to print out, and then the length of, and then we need to tell it what do we want to know? We want to know the length of this variable. So the variable we're learning the length of is name. So this is going to print how many variables or how many characters are actually in the variable name. 19. So we have 19 characters in name. And so there's some other really cool functions that we can also use. Let's say we wanted our name to be all in uppercase. We could do name, and then if we add this dot here, name dot, it's going to give us a bunch of different functions that we can use to manipulate the variable name. So one of those things could be upper. And this is a function as well, so it has a set of parentheses that has to go with it. So if you leave these parentheses off, it's going to give you an error. So print has its parentheses, and upper also has its parentheses. So this says, computer, print out the variable name and make it upper. So let's do that. I'm gonna comment out these two things here. So there it goes. It printed Jeff Dean Sanderson all in uppercase. There's other functions we can do. The exact opposite of that would be name dot lower. And don't forget parentheses, and that's going to take the name and it's going to change all the letters to lowercase, just like that. And then if we want, remember this this function we're about to do is actually the exact opposite of this, where we told it we want you to print the 0 character. This one is going to tell the computer, hey, we need some information from you. We need some information from the variable name, and the information we need is the index. Index means tell me where something is at. I want to know where the capital D is located. So it's going to print out the variable name in the variable name, and it's going to run this function, which is the index function, which is telling it look for something. And I want you to look for the capital D. The computer is going to find the capital D, and it's going to tell you what position it's at in the string. So right here it says 5. So if I run this, it's going to print out my name in upper, lower, and then it's going to print out what position the capital D is in. Position 5. Now if I tell it to look for Z, I don't see any Z's up there. Sorry, no Z found in that. So you need to make sure if you're looking for something that it actually exists. So let's do back to that capital D. Okay, and we have remember that, if you remember the story we told, we had Bob and we had Tim, and then I told you that we wanted to change the name, and we used variables to do that. We can also use this pretty cool function called replace. And just like the variable did, we can replace things. So let's change Jeff to Sam or something. So let's put this in quotes. Alright, so what it's going to do is it's going to find Jeff, and then it's going to replace it with Sam. Notice I have two things written in here, and this is it's very specific. So it's looking for Jeff, and then it's going to replace it with Sam. And it's looking in name, so it's going to name, it's finding Jeff, and it's taking out Jeff, and it's putting Sam in its place. Sam Dean Sanderson. You can do this with individual letters as well. So I want the computer to find the capital J and replace it with a capital S. So it's Seth Dean Sanderson. You can, and then also notice that if you use like E and then like let's do a capital Z so we can see it easily, it's going to go into the name variable, it's going to find all the lowercase e's, and it's going to replace it with a capital Z. So run. See that? It replaced all of them just like that. Pretty neat little function. So that this concludes our basic strings.